for your shot, when you're hitting passing shots and put away shots, your ball bends like a rainbow, right? And you want to hit lasers on those shots. So your normal backswing here, which is perfect because you produce top spin that's very consistent and you can place it fantastic and you get great power on it. But when you want to hit the ball by your opponent, you're going to adjust the backswing higher and hit more of a laser, a flatter ball, so you can get the ball by your opponent rather than your opponent running down that shot. So I want you to write that down in your journal. Flying right now already. We've been here a minute. We're already rolling. Okay. And when you miss, Allie, do you miss wide, long, or in the net? On your ground strokes, on your forehand. Let's start there. Mostly in the net. Okay, so I'm gonna look at that today. And on your backhand, do you have any tendencies wide, long, in the net?
Yeah.
So you're hitting mostly in the net on both sides. Okay. And when you miss in the net, do you miss badly in the net, or is it just barely missing in the net? Barely missing in the net. Okay. So I'll fix that. What about your volley? Okay. So you guys, when you're hitting a volley, everybody look at me. We're working on volleys right now. The best volleyers are shoulder volleyers. Can you see I'm using my shoulder? The worst volleyers are elbow volleyers. Okay? So I want you guys to write down under volley that we core volley. So again, I'm putting my core on this line. I'm moving the core, and watch, I shoulder volley. Okay, see the shoulder? You guys? I don't elbow volley. That's why you're missing that shot, Allie, and that's why you have problems. Okay, now, we're going to review the volley right now for your journal. I want you to write down stance first. Do you have stance written down? By the way, Sansu, you look absolutely gorgeous today when you're out. Okay, stance. The first thing about our ready position is the racket's away from my body. So I'm never going to stand like this when I'm waiting for my volleys. This is just lazy. If I see you do this, this is automatic push-ups. We need to have this racket away from us. We need the tip of the racket. We want to be looking over the top. So I'm not like this. Look, you guys. I'm never doing this. I can't see. I need to be here. The elbow should be up. So when I turn my racket head, it's a good tip for you, Allie. When I turn my racket head, the head can't lay down into the table. Everybody see the table? The table is the kiss of death on your volley. This is called radius. Okay. And if I have this much radius, I can't compete against the top players because I make too many mistakes. I'm trying to find contact points. If I have this much radius, this is manageable radius, and this is unmanageable radius. And that's why I'm keeping this elbow up to stop the racket from laying back so far so I don't have to do this before contact every time. Okay, so the stance is the feet are further apart than the shoulders. The heels are off the ground, the racket's away from the body. Now, in order to hit a firm volley, your elbow has to be in the right position. And when I turn on my forehand volley, my elbow should be about 2 tennis balls off my side. This would be perfect position, and this would be very weak position, and this would be very weak position. And this would be good position, and this would be weak position, and maybe that would be weak position on my backhand. So that's why I'm starting with my arms out, so I can turn into a position of strength with my elbow. So everybody get that? Okay. Now, the swing path of the racket is outside in on edge. Everybody write that down. Outside in on edge. Now, outside in on edge means I start with the racket away from my body. Well, look at me. I start with the racket away from my body, and I bring the racket into my body in a clapping motion with the edge of the racket leading. So my strokes look like this. Outside in on edge and outside in on edge. And from this position also, my wrist is straight, the racket's away from my body, and I'm bringing the racket outside in on edge. So I have a natural cross-court volley as my primary volley. Here's why. If I keep my wrist straight and lead with the edge of the racket, my backswing is going to be half as long. So when I'm competing against really strong players like Allie, and she pummels the ball at me, and I've got half the backswing, I'm going to be able to hit a firm volley from this position and a weaker volley when the racket gets back here. Number 2, when my wrist is straight as opposed to being laid back, it's much stronger. So when I hit with the wrist straight in this position, it's a much firmer volley. When I hit with the wrist laid back in this position, it's a much weaker volley. Number 3, if I'm running off the court because I'm going outside in on edge, if I'm running off the court, look, I'm bringing that ball back into the court. If I'm this way, the ball goes wide and it's weak. Okay, so can you see, also if my backswing's shorter, then the racket's staying more in front of my body. As long as I know where the face is, I'm in good shape. But when I get the racket back here, I start losing track of the face, and now I'm trying to find contact point, not as consistent. Everybody with me? So the stroking pattern is outside in on edge and outside in on edge. This motion, so this is a big myth, this punching motion that they teach you where you put your racket in a straight line with the ball and you go like this is not a primary volley but a secondary volley. I put my racket here and I punch the ball, secondary volley, this is primary. The last thing about this outside in on edge is it's hard to read. You cannot tell. I can turn my shoulders a little more or a little less and you can't tell where the ball's going.
Yeah.
When I'm like this, I'm telegraphed, I'm hitting over here, I'm telegraphing, and I'm telegraphing. It's weaker, it's later. So for all those reasons, this is the technique we want to use outside in on edge with the wrist straight. Any questions about that? Now, the motion again is a shoulder motion. Write this down, you guys, shoulder motion and not an elbow motion. So if we're using the elbow, we're going to be very inconsistent. We want to make sure we're using the shoulder. The last part is there's so many footwork variances on the volley that we have to learn. But the way we're moving the ball is I put my core on this line and I make contact and then step. I make contact and then step. And the common mistake is stepping first where my weight gets all the way forward and now I've got this motion. Now if my weight gets forward too soon, then there's nowhere for me to go but down. I have nothing shifting into the ball. My racket goes down, so I have timing errors. My ball ends up in the net because I'm hitting down so much, or my balls land short. All three, not the best. If I'm doing this, then my racket never drops. So this is a slope if I make contact and then step, and this is a cliff if I step and make contact. You guys see the difference between the two? So your primary volley footwork is this. Cross step. So I make contact before I step, contact, step, balance step, side step. Contact, side step. Contact, side step. Contact, balance. Okay, any questions just about your overall overview for the volley? Out of what I said, Allie, what do you think you can work the most on? Pick one thing. Shoulder volley and contact then step, not stepping first. Okay, I forgot one thing, you guys, and I apologize, and that is from your ready position, your first movement, and this is what Allie needs to work on too. So Allie, I'm really getting into your world today, all right? Your first movement on your volley is what, Steph? I tilt the head here. Now I turn my shoulder. Now, here's the deal. Every ball you hit is going to be falling into your racket. 99% of the time. Sometimes I'll hit up with you right on top of net. Very rare. Almost every ball you hit is going to be falling into the string. And Gordon, can you throw me a ball? If my racket's flush to the ball and the ball falls in my strings, watch out, leaves my racket. Just left it the same angle it came in on. So every volley I hit, the face of the racket has to be open to offset this angle of reflection. Does that make sense, you guys? So my first movement is to lay the head down so the head's laid back so I can offset that angle of reflection and get the ball over the net.
Okay, thanks.
Okay? Now here's the common mistake, is I don't set the face here, I turn my racket's out of position, then I go like this as I hit. I turn my racket's out of position, I go like this as I hit. So that's good day, bad day form because I'm changing the face every time I hit the ball. The second biggest mistake is turning, stopping the arm, the wrist lays back. So it looks like this, look. And then I try to catch up. Or it looks like this, look. The arm stops, the wrist flips, and now I'm trying to catch up again. Allie. Okay, and so now when I got my racket volley back here, I'm trying to catch up every time. Again, it's good day, bad day. Watch my racket face at contact. Nothing is happening. Once I set the face here, the rest is nothing happens. So I don't want this tweaking going on all over the place prior or at contact points. I want the face set and then turn. Okay, last tip. When you finish the shot, your follow through should be above net level. So for all of us that are finishing, the Wailea volley,